Welcome back. In this segment of the internet and its uses, we're going to be looking at a range of solutions which are used to help keep data safe from cybersecurity threats. Now, we already talked about a number of different cybersecurity threats, including social engineering, phishing, farming, malware, and so on. And we've also touched base on what kind of solutions would help reduce the risk from those cybersecurity threats. In this segment, though, we're going to be delving a bit more deeper into those security solutions so you can answer questions related to them with confidence. So the first ones we're going to look at are access levels and anti-malware. So let's start by looking at access levels. Now, one of the ways companies can help protect against the threat of social engineering is to use access levels for their data. This is where perhaps employees are given different levels of access to the data in the company. What this normally means is that an employee will only have access to the data that they directly use on a daily basis. So they won't be able to access data which is not relevant to them. Now, when you divide access to the data that way, even if one employee's account is compromised, the hacker or the perpetrator won't be able to access all of the company's data, and hence they can reduce the security risk. Now, in many computer systems, user accounts control a user's rights. This often involves having different levels of access for different people. For example, in a hospital, it would not be appropriate for a cleaner to have access to medical data about patients. A doctor, on the other hand, would need access to this particular data to treat a patient. Therefore, most systems have a hierarchy of access levels, depending on a person's level of security. And this is usually achieved using a username and password. Now, the username will have data connected to it that will show the computer system which data the employee is allowed to access. Normally, these include the right to read, write, and delete data, which are part of access levels. So by having different views of data tables, it is possible for different users to only have access to certain data. When using databases, levels of access are particularly important, and it's essential to determine who has access to data and who doesn't. Computer systems aren't the only place where access levels are used. They're also used on social media. Now, there are normally four access levels. You can allow your posts and your data to be public. You can have friends only access, so people that you know and that you're connected to can access that. You can set a custom level of access where some friends can have access and others don't. So maybe your close friends can have access to your data. And finally, only the owner has access to the data. Now, in this type of application, users are allowed to use privacy settings rather than passwords to decide the level of access. So if you get a question related to access levels on social media, it's mostly going to be related to privacy settings. So you can't say that the password gives you access levels. You need to say that the user controls the access levels via their privacy settings. Okay, that's enough about access levels. Just remember that there are three major forms of access levels: read, write, and delete. And normally you control them in a computer system using usernames and passwords. On social media accounts, we control them using privacy settings, and there's normally four levels there. Okay, let's start looking at antivirus software. This is part of a group of software which is called anti-malware. So you'll have antivirus, you'll have anti-spyware. They all operate the same way and they deal with different types of malware threats. An antivirus software can be used to scan a computer for viruses. It compares each file against a list of known virus signatures to see if a match is present. Normally, this is stored in a database which you need to update regularly. If matched, it will put this file in a quarantine area and inform the user, presenting them with a choice to delete it. Now, regular scanning with a regularly updated antivirus database is essential to reduce the risk of viruses attacking your system. So make sure you know that it scans, it detects, it quarantines, it has to be regularly updated, and that you have to have regular scanning instead of just scanning once or twice. You need to make sure that you're doing it perhaps on a weekly basis. Antivirus is a type of anti-malware software, and any kind of anti-malware software works just like an antivirus, but they work for other types of malware like worms, spyware, adware, and ransomware. So it scans, detects, quarantines, and deletes any type of malware. If you're asked about anti-spyware, it also operates the same way, but focuses on spyware. It also needs to be regularly updated, and you also need to make sure that you're actively scanning your files to reduce the risk from these threats. So therefore, make sure that antivirus, anti-spyware, anti-malware are all active. So they're working all the time rather than just the odd scan when you want them to be. Of course, there's a processing hit because you've got this additional piece of software working, but it isn't that huge compared to the risk of leaving yourself exposed to malware. Well, hopefully you can answer the following questions. How do access levels keep data safe? What type of threats can they protect against? What are the three main levels of access? How does antivirus software work? And give one similarity and one difference between antivirus and anti-malware type software. That's all there is for this particular lesson. If you've got any questions, as usual, post them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.